I'm Elle Mejia, a landlord, investor, and retail leasing professional. I've completed high-level transactions for retailers in markets across 5 continents. On my way to building a multi-million-dollar real estate business, I'm curating advice from women who are killing it across the globe and sharing those conversations with you. You can absolutely run your business, run your household, and run your life without running yourself into the ground. Welcome to This Girl Sells Real Estate. Hello, my lovelies. I'm so excited. We are in season 2. You are tuned into This Girl Sells Real Estate. I'm Elle Mejia of Elle Does Real Estate, and this is a podcast where we feature long-form interviews with phenomenal women in real estate from across the globe. But in this season, we're doing something a little bit different. So in addition to those conversations, I'm going to be having these 10 or 15 minute minisodes in between where I share some of my daily experiences in retail leasing, as well as some tips and strategies that I have to be successful in that sphere. So just a little bit about my background. First of all, I am not a real estate agent, although a lot of the tips and strategies will be able to cross over into that as well. I've been out of brokerage for several years, but I've been in real estate for 10 or 11 years, started out in brokerage, and then moved into the private sector. So I was on the tenant side in retail leasing. I started that 7 years ago, completed transactions in Canada and the US, in Germany and Singapore, in the Netherlands and New Zealand. I'm sure I'm forgetting South Africa. I'm forgetting countries for sure, but had a great time traveling to different places and conducting deals in open air shopping centers, high streets, airport locations, enclosed malls. I really kind of ran the gambit with that. And now I am handling the Ontario leasing portfolio for, if I'm not mistaken, the largest landlord developer in Canada. So a lot of work with a lot of tenants from all across different industries. But the nature of this business is that none of that matters because what you did 5 years ago and what you did 10 years ago and any of the accolades or trophies that you've collected, none of it is going to make a difference to this year. What's really going to make a difference this year is what deals you get across the finish line this year. And I know a lot of people will say that you're only as good as your last deal. I disagree. I think that you're only as good as your last prospect, because prospecting is really the heart of what you're going to need to be successful in this business. So today, I'm going to be sharing some of my favorite prospecting tips and strategies. So for me, prospecting is non-negotiable. It should be non-negotiable for you as well, because you should always be looking to generate new business. I dedicate 1 day a week to my prospecting. Thursdays are my prospecting day. And on that day, I am exclusively working to build new business. I'm reaching out via email, phone calls. Before COVID, I was out on the roads doing market tours and door knocking. I'll find you on LinkedIn. If you're in the market and if I think that there's an opportunity in our center that is going to work for you, I will find you wherever you are. And these are some of the prospecting tips that I use to do that. So first things first, use a database. Use something to manage all of the conversations that you're planning on having. Do not rely on your own memory for any of those, because as the conversations get further along and as you start adding to that prospecting list every week, soon you're going to have 25 conversations, 50 conversations, 75 conversations that you're managing all at the same time, all at different stages of the process. And you can't count on being able to remember, oh, this is Kathy from this retailer and she's looking for 1,500 square feet in this market. It just makes your life so much easier if you have all of that information in one place to find. So for myself, I use Pipedrive. It's a highly customizable management tool. Gives me an app on my phone that I can use on the road as well, so that it kind of cross-references everything. And I have them mapped out in different stages. So I have a list of the prospects that I know that I want to touch base with. I move them into different columns as we move through the different stages. Have I made contact? Have they responded? Is there interest? Have I sent them a proposal? Are they on their first lease draft? Do they have execution copies out and I'm expecting them in 2 weeks? The only benefit that I see to having that database system is that it makes you look so much more professional when you're on top of every single conversation that you're having. There's nothing worse than not following up on a hot lead because it just slipped off of your radar. And that will happen if you don't get organized and get organized quickly. Another key to that database is it allows you to leverage it down the line. So not every conversation that you have today is going to work out to a deal today or next month or the next 3 months or even this year. leverage your existing database so that you can circle back to contacts when you have an opportunity that fulfills their need. So I actually separate my contact list in my database according to segments. So I know if I'm looking for a dentist for this center, I can just click on dentist and pull up all the dentists that I have relationships with. If I need a clothing retailer or a grocery store or a quick service restaurant, I have all of those segmented within my contact list so that I can access them easily and so that I can draw that information and send it to that specific group so that I know that what I'm sending them is of value and is relevant to what it is that they need. So definitely make sure that you're using a database and make sure that you circle back to old contacts. Every contact that has been, even the ones that have been inactive for several years, you never know when their needs change and when there may be proof to be a potential opportunity that you can offer them. So for example, this morning I had a phone call at 9 a.m. with a very, very, very prominent QSR retailer that I've built a relationship with over the last few years, put them in a few different locations, and they're launching an entirely new brand, like an entirely new concept. They're still going to have all of their existing stores, but they've got an entirely new QSR concept that they don't even have one store for yet. So I got to have a portfolio review meeting this morning to talk about that concept, what they're going to need in terms of square footage, what they're going to need in terms of a market presence. And now I'm putting together a proposal for them of opportunities that I think may work not only for their first location, but as they roll out for 2021 and 2022. And that's by leveraging a contact that, as far as I knew, didn't have any need for space right now for their existing QSR brand. So make sure that you're circling back, make sure that you're maintaining the relationships that you make with the contacts that you make. Any tenant that you put into a space, you should be able to maintain that relationship so that you know the next time that they have a need in the market, they're coming to you and you know about it first. So make sure that you're circling back to those contacts using a database and leveraging that database for maximum success. The other thing that I do is I register for every CRE news site email list that exists in the territories that I'm operating in. So I operate in different markets across Ontario. I'm signed up for all of the big ones, the small ones. I want to get all of the emails about all of the transactions that are going on in my area. And I want to take note of the brokers that are involved, because you're not just building relationships with the retailers, you're building relationships with the brokers as well. And if you see the same broker name popping up on several deals, maybe you should have a relationship with that broker so that the next time they have a tenant or a client or a customer that is looking for something that you offer, they pick up the phone and they call you because they know you, because they've built that relationship. Even if it hasn't been built on a deal already, it can be built and maintained to secure a deal in the future. So make sure that you're staying on top of all of those transactions going on in your area, and have a good understanding of what the market looks like and what the movement is within that area so that you know how to move, you know how to position your tenants, you know how to position your centers for the maximum success as well. Conferences and events. So I am a firm believer in attending every conference and event that you can get to. And honestly, when the lockdowns are over and everything opens back up again, this is something that I'm going to be going out and doing full force. So I attend the ICSC events. The company that I'm with actually does an amazing job of creating a presence, a dominating presence at these events so that you know who they are. So it doesn't take a lot of work for me to be able to book those conversations and make sure that I'm just kind of circling the room and making and forming relationships because I've got the backing of that company behind me. But even if you don't, you can get a booth at one of these events yourself, a smaller booth, so that you can leverage that. You can just attend as an attendee if it's an event that doesn't necessarily make sense for you to exhibit at, but may make sense for you to attend. So for example, I attend the franchisee expos. I attended the virtual expo that they held just a few weeks ago. I also make a habit of emailing the actual event host and asking for their attendee list, which a lot of times they're happy to share. Sometimes it's even available on their website. They'll have a list of exhibitors, because when I attend a franchisee show, I know that those are brands that have invested in that booth to be there, are looking for franchisees. And if they're looking for franchisees and finding franchisees at the fair, at the expo, then the next thing that they're going to need is a location for that franchisee. I build relationships with those brands. I look specifically for brands that I haven't heard of, that maybe a lot of people haven't heard of, so that I can help as they start their rollout into the market. There's a lot of value in being able to make connections with people face to face. And that's why I'm a big supporter of door knocking when it comes to commercial real estate. I'm a big supporter of attending these events and making those face-to-face contacts, because in commercial real estate especially, it can be a lot of emails and faxes and phone calls, and you don't often get to put a face to the name of the person that you've been corresponding with for years. And another pro of this of these types of events is that, especially for like the ICSCs that are national, you get to put a face to the name of someone from a few provinces over, or a few states over, or a different country that you've done 2 or 3 deals with that you've never had a chance to meet in person. Take the opportunity to go out and have a coffee, plan a lunch meeting with someone, and make sure that that relationship is solidified, because phone calls, emails, and faxes aren't going to do it. You need to make sure that your relationship is stronger than the relationship that they're going to be forming with every other person that they do business with. So leverage those events as well. Participate in those local events. What other tips do I have for you today? Okay, so host your own event. If you're not seeing any events that it is that you can be a part of, or even if you are, one of the great things about hosting my own events has been being able to tailor the event to who it is that I want to speak to. So everyone who knows me knows that I am a big supporter of women in real estate. It's my favorite thing to do is talk to other women about how they can level up their game in real estate, and talk to other women about advice that they can give me to level up my game in real estate. It's my favorite conversations to have. So when I host my own events, I can tailor what the event is to attract the people that I want to speak to. So if you're trying to attract retailers, why not host an event that will draw in retailers? Why not host an event where you're talking to, where you're interviewing an expert about how they best handle shipping options from their brick and mortar locations, and retailers will sign up for that event, and then they'll get to know you. And then when they decide that they're planning their next rollout, or they need a new location, or they need a second location, they need to change locations, you're the person that they call because you've built that relationship with that retailer. So hosting your own event ensures that you can have maximum exposure at that event. And the focus of your event can be exactly what you need it to be to attract the people that it is that you want to speak to. Make sure to reach out to your own personal network as well. Your personal network is a rich resource for spreading the word about what you do. A lot of people I actually had this conversation the other day with a woman who is one of the girls that are in PrettyGirlsWork, and she's a residential real estate agent. And she was upset about a colleague of hers that she considered herself to be really close to, that put her house up on the market and didn't even have a conversation with her or talk to her or anything along those lines. And I had to explain to her, well, does she know that you're in real estate? She's fairly new in the business. She's only been in it for about the last 2 years. And this last year, it's been a different one. So if people don't know what it is that you do, then how are they supposed to come to you for their service? How are they supposed to refer you to their friends? You never know who people know. So making sure that the people around you, even in your personal circles, have a good understanding of what it is that you do. The next time they're having a conversation with one of their work colleagues about, my sister-in-law has a store and her lease is coming up and she's looking for a new location and she's working with an agent. Well, your contact needs to be prepared to say, I know someone who does this exact thing. Let me give you her phone number. Let me shoot you her email address. I can't tell you how many group texts I get or WhatsApp messages I get saying, hey, Elle, this is so-and-so. She owns this store and she's just looking for some advice on. And I'm always happy to take those conversations because you never know when those conversations can turn into new business. And again, it might not be immediate. A lot of what we do in commercial real estate is really laying the foundation for future deals. It's building relationships and maintaining relationships for future deals. So keep that in mind. Not everything is going to be that immediate satisfaction of some of it will, and I've had those too, but a lot of it is going to be laying the groundwork so that eventually those deals are flowing quite naturally and organically and coming from your own circle as well. So never overlook the value of reaching out to your network, reaching out to existing clients, asking for referrals. It's a huge, huge benefit. The last tip I'm going to leave you with is joining real estate networks and associations. So I'm a part of ICSC. I am a part of Toronto Crew. I make it a point to try to attend their events and get to know the other members and leverage our experiences, trade best practices and tips and strategies. A lot of the strategies that I've learned from other people who are doing my exact same job and who've maybe been doing it a couple of years more than I have, or have more experience than I do, or just have a different perspective or had a different idea of how to generate those leads. So I find a ton of value in my networking circle, even among those that most people would consider competition. If you know me, you know I don't believe in competition. It's collaboration over competition all day, every day, in all aspects of my life. But leverage those opportunities too. Join these associations. Make sure that you participate in their events. Pour into that community the same way that you expect them to pour into you, and reap the mutual benefits of being a part of that network. So those are all the tips I'm going to leave you with today. I'm going to have a ton more prospecting tips and get a little bit more in depth into what I do with my prospecting as I continue doing these minisodes. But thank you so much for coming to us for the first minisode of This Girl Sells Real Estate, the first episode of season 2, period. I'm so excited to share more of these conversations with you, to share more of these tips and strategies with you. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or Spotify, wherever it is that you're tuned into us on, please remember to rate us. It means so much in the long run for this platform. And I mean, it just really makes me feel good too. So let me know if there's anything that you want to hear specifically, anything that is challenging you within your career that you want to hear about. I'd love to speak on that as well. I'm always available, info@ellemejia.com. Thank you for tuning into This Girl Sells Real Estate, a Pretty Girls Work podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day, guys.